Thanks a lot for having me here. Daniel and Jen, thanks a lot for inviting me. I'm Costas. I work as a lead creative technologist at the Fashion Innovation Agency. We're part of LCF, but also have a long-lasting relationship with the School of Media and Comms. I did my master's around 4 or 5 years ago in fashion media production, and my practice focuses a lot on the dissemination of art and fashion within hybrid worlds. And by that I mean environments and ecologies that bring together physical and digital elements. So I try to answer questions like this one here: how will fashion art media meet its audience as we move into the future? Through the advancements in software and hardware, I believe that the ways through which we interact within digital platforms are very much influenced by the means that we use. So, for example, gaming mechanisms, which were traditionally associated with a very specific demographic, are now applying to people that exist within mainstream social media platforms as well. So I'm very interested to explore the ways through which media are going to be disseminated within these hybrid scenarios. And some of the main themes that I have been working on: first of all, I try to conceptualize immersive technologies not as tools to create duplicates of physical experiences, but actually as mediums to be able to amplify real-world scenarios, but also facilitate real-time interactions within them. And in that context as well, I'm interested in the human element within those environments. So I kind of explore the intricate interplay between human experience but also cyber-physical ecosystems within those cyber-physical ecosystems, and what this means about creative expression, how we kind of consciously or unconsciously decide to express ourselves being influenced by the tools that we have. Also, because of the fact that my work, mostly all of my work, is being done within game engines, which are software that were initially created for the video gaming industry, but across the years they've been adopted by several other industries and creative sectors. I'm interested to do some work around like traditional game theory, which was originating around the 70s and the 80s, and it was very much associated with neoliberal politics, with Cold War ideology, and in that extent it's very much about instant gratifications, a system that cultivates instant gratifications. Also, remembering myself like playing games as a child, the process that you follow to finish a game is very linear, so you have to win certain tasks to be able to win the game. So I'm interested through my projects to deconstruct that and explore and shift the focus towards community building and promoting measured research as well, using the same like frameworks but in a different way. And in that regard, I try to collaborate with both contemporary artists but also fashion designers with the objective of establishing safer online community platforms. So usually those platforms are created in collaboration with underrepresented and diverse artistic voices, with the goal of moving beyond, let's say, mainstream traditional social media channels, which are in most cases associated with lots of exclusion, especially around censorship. And finally, coming from an engineering background, I'm also interested in the fact that through my past in engineering, the technology has always been associated with let's say a success, so you always try to think of ways to make it more effective and to make it work. However, through my projects and my work, I try to embrace the glitches, the mistakes. I don't think we should trust the technology in all cases, because together with it we learn a lot. So this is like a very interesting book, which I actually suggest, by Legacy Russell, trying to create dipoles between glitched bodies in the real world and how like bodies that move beyond the norms of what is considered a male, a female body, a healthy body. They try to actually kind of create that dipole between the glitch as it is seen within a technological framework and how it is always associated with a mistake, but actually they cultivate that awareness of the fact that we need to embrace that glitch and try to create together with it. So before showing you some of my projects, I wanted to take some time to introduce you to the processes that I've been using, just to be a bit more public around the tools that are available for you to use, and the fact that most of them are easily accessible without like big budgets included. So yeah, one of the most important parts is to be able to digitize physical assets, which you can then use in all of these different types of digital experiences. This here is currently a project that is work in progress, actually. I'm working with an artist friend called Anthropomorph. She's doing really interesting research around the notion of transness and its association with ancient cultures, specifically ancient Greek and Roman, and how it was considered something very sacred. So the idea here is that we will create a VR experience in 3 stages that will demonstrate and disseminate the 3 stages of a gender transition, but it will be very much influenced by by the research in spirituality and ancient culture. So the environment will kind of include temples, and using like her designs and her masks. We are at this video that you can see here involves 3D scanning, so we're digitizing her in different looks that will be incorporated within the VR environments. We're going to be working with a sound artist as well. So this here, showcases to you a technology that I've been using to be able to digitize usually human beings and incorporate them into digital environments. These are some like experiments that I've been doing by trying to create a metaverse representation of myself. This here is as part of a music video that I'm going to be showing you later on the project side. I thought it would be interesting to demonstrate it because that's done just with a smartphone device, whereas the previous two where you would require access to a photogrammetry rig. So it's really interesting to see the level of quality that you can achieve just by working with a smartphone device. For that specific video, what's interesting, and that's why I decided to incorporate at the end of the presentation as well, is that it's all very DIY, so we had no budget for all of the projects, which means that all the technologies that we have been using are available for free and they're open source. So this is the part of digitizing the artist. And then this is another application that we had been using. It's called In3D. You can access it on your phone as well. It allows you to create avatars from digitizing human beings. And then the cool thing of that is that if you don't have like in-depth 3D skill sets, you're able to download a rigged version ready for animation without the need to do that manually. But also, 3D scanning is used apart from human beings for garments, for objects, for sculptures. These here are some garments that we digitized as part of a project that we were working on at the FIA. And moving on, motion capture is a tool that I have been working with a lot. This is, again, part of that same music video. So after we created the avatar of the artist, we used a solution with, at the moment, I think we just used our 2 iPhones. We didn't even have tripods, so we're just like mantling them on mirrors and stuff. And this is all done in the living room of the artist. So we were able to extract his animation data and then retarget it onto the avatar mesh that was created. But as I was saying before, I'm going to show you the final piece later on. Digital design is a tool that allows you to create purely digital fashion. So without the need to scan and digitize physical assets, you can download this software and be able to generate fashion purely in digital. So this is again part of that experiment of trying to create an avatar representation of myself, where I did the 3D scanning. I created worked with a designer to create the garments, then simulated the move with motion capture, and eventually you get to play around like with examples like that, which you can then use across different kinds of virtual environments. So it was just like a very short example of the technologies that are available and that allows us to generate digital representations of ourselves, which we could use across different kinds of platforms. And digital fashion is for everyone. This is me and my cat. We worked with a brand in LA who wanted to create digital fashion for both of us. So it's more inclusive, I guess. Moving on. Volumetric capture is an interesting, it's like it gives you the opportunity to, instead of like capturing static 3D assets, it gives you the opportunity to generate animated versions of human beings. So this is all done automatically. You don't need to do any manual 3D work. This is a short demonstration of a project that I'm working on with an artist friend of mine, a choreographer actually, who has personal experience of living with his mother who suffered from Parkinson's disease. So he created a choreography which would be kind of dedicated to people that suffer from that disease. And the idea is to create a multiplayer game where people who have Parkinson's could also interact with one another and learn the choreography as well. So this was like the very first iteration, and we're working on fundraising to be able to work on the user interface actually, and then the streaming side of things. Where is this platform going to be hosted. But what you see here is the two dancers that were scanned volumetrically, and then they're incorporated into a game engine. So a software that allows you to create 3D worlds, but also program interaction on top. And finally, I mean, this is the 3D world building is the reason why I got into the work that I'm doing today. I'm really excited to create like virtual worlds, and I think what I find really inspiring is the fact that you could create very diverse visuals working with 3D software, and you can play with layers of abstraction that are not possible to achieve physically. So I kind of have a showreel of lots of different virtual environments that I had created and used across some of the projects. So this is for the music video that you're going to be seeing later on. These are work in progress. This is another environment as part of a project that I'm going to be showing you very shortly. Yeah, I wanted to kind of have like a selection of very different environments to just kind of disseminate to you the diversity of visuals that you can create when working with these platforms. And now I'm going to move on to projects, so more concise, like let's say visual outputs. Wearables is an area that I used to be very interested in around between 2018, I would say, and 2020. I still am, but it's a bit. I think it's difficult for wearables to be widely distributed because of the fact that they always tend to be proof of concepts and difficult to automate in a way. Anyways, as part of that project, the idea was to see the body as an interface and how we can use digital technology to kind of expand and transform what it means to be human. Together with some amazing collaborators, we were very interested in the idea of hacking at the time and combining that with the fact that consciously or unconsciously, from the moment we exit our houses, we consciously or unconsciously expose ourselves through the data that we share in the digital platforms. So we were trying to make that into a physical kind of piece. The idea was to create a garment that from the moment you wear it, you kind of allow others to be able to hack you. So it was an exploration on exposing one's vulnerability and where are the limits to that. We created an AR application which could allow you to hack the garment. So we integrated like air pumps on different parts of the garment, which means that when the garment was hacked, like air was pumping on it, so there was lots of transformations in different parts. But also we incorporated a material called nitinol, which has the ability to, in a few words, it can shrink very quickly once the temperature increases. So when the garment was hacked, these nitinol strips were stretching, and you got that weird, like, uncanny effect in different parts of the outfit and the body. So yeah, I can play the video. It's very short. Moving on, another area that I focus my work a lot on are interactive experiences and seeing curating and how curating is kind of evolving within 3D virtual space. This project here I worked on around 2019, 2020. It's actually a magazine that incorporates, I've got it here so you can have a look later on. It's actually a physical document, a physical magazine that is accompanied by content in augmented and virtual reality. The idea for that, like for me, it was interesting at the time studying fashion to use the magazine as a format, because usually I tended to associate like a magazine with advertisement and mainstream culture. But the idea was kind of to try and deconstruct that. I wanted to work with contemporary artists, so I worked with 5 of them to create a platform that would move beyond commercial culture and advertising and create new possibilities into what is considered mainstream. The idea was for the artists to engage with notions such as body politics, queer identity, censorship, body fragmentation, augmentation, consumerism, and macho culture. But what was interesting for me, I wanted to collaborate with these 5 people because of the fact that they talk about these themes and issues in their work, but they do it by making direct references to mainstream fashion, beauty, advertisement, and pornography. So it kind of created that interesting dipole for the magazine. And yeah, the basic theme was to transform the magazine format and to make it into a multi-layered exhibition that would gather the work of diverse contemporary artists. This here is the AR application that you can use to actually interact with the magazine. So for example, on the left-hand side, I worked with Rox Mangat, an artist who works a lot with tattoo. So he has like lots of sketches which are associated with poems that he's been writing. So if you scanned the magazine, the particular like sketch, you would get the handwritten text applied digitally on top. In this one is like we had some sculptures working with an artist called Laila Majid, and she had created those 3D sculptures which you could see digitally on top of the magazine. And on the other side, this was actually, I'm going to show you the virtual environment later on, but all of these collages originate from porn videos. So, if you scan the collage, you would get like the porn video playing on top. So at the moment, like I have 2 of those in Instagram, so you could like scan the QR code, and then if you want to play around with it later on, I'm happy to leave those here. And this was the second part of the magazine. So apart from the AR experiences, I was interested in creating performative spaces using VR because of the fact that I think that VR allowed that kind of intimate moment between the audience and the creator. It's kind of a one-to-one experience. So I was exploring that at the time, and I created performative spaces together with the artist, which you could access. You could get a link by obtaining the magazine. So these are some experiences, some examples of those spaces. This was another one. So all of that was, again, you could access it in VR, or you could also have a link to an online website where you could like use gaming mechanisms to roam around the scenes. And this is again another example with another artist. She was at the time exploring a lot like the notion of bodybuilding and trying to bring up and deconstruct stereotypes related to virility and femininity. So she created also a sound piece from she gathered sounds from different gyms that she was going to, and she created a sound piece as well together with all of this comes from an archive, but she was like scraping magazines from the 80s in Japan, from bodybuilding magazines, and then she removes the faces and keeps the bodies as sculptural forms. And this one here is as part of the work that I was showing you before, worked with an artist called Boy Hugo. Their practice is amazing. Honestly, at the time they were exploring the fetishization and desexualization of Asian men within mainstream gay dating apps like Grindr. So all of these videos, all of the collages originate from videos or conversations within Grindr. So yeah, we created that space as well together, which was accessible in VR, and then you can also image interact the magazine. Unfortunately, because at the moment I'm hosting the filters in Instagram, censorship doesn't allow this to work. But yeah, I used to have an application which you could download, but at the moment is offline. I'll let you know if it's again online. Moving on, during the same category of projects, this was done during the pandemic. I have a really close photographer friend, and she had not self-published. She published a photo book together with a publisher. I think they're based in Italy, but she wanted to have a physical event in London. She couldn't host it, so we came together, and I used kind of advanced animation systems within Unity to digitize the entire book. And we created that like live event, which you could access from your browser or mobile, and then you have the interface there. You could like see the magazine. You could, using your keyboard or your mouse, you could flip the pages, see it in its entirety. And then there was also a sound piece that she had created. Oops, sorry.
I'd buy lilies if I could.
Space 2.
Reconstructing death.
Ready when you are.
So the book was all based on conversations that she was exchanging with her ex, and the sound piece is actually reciting those. But then you could also, like through the immersive experience, you could relocate to the publisher's website and purchase the book. And this was similarly again, another friend of mine, she had a fund from Arts Council to have a physical exhibition in collaboration with two artists, but it was impossible to do it during COVID. So we kind of used like video gaming mechanisms, game engines to create the entire exhibition online. So for that particular project, like the idea was to create a racing game, so you could choose a car, you could drive it around the space, and then you had like sculptural work, you had poetry, performance, video work around that space. So you could see the exhibition in that regard. And this is kind of a work in progress at the moment. It's focusing a lot, I briefly mentioned some of that in the beginning. I'm interested, the idea is to create a video game that will foster spatio-temporal liminality, queer dynamics, and non-finite gameplay. It's around that research that I was telling you, to deconstruct like traditional gaming theory. So how can we use these worlds and these interactions to move beyond purpose-driven UX design approaches and to create different ways of interacting, which are more, I would say, non-finite, liminal, meditative, spiritual, instead of being very much influenced by that particular gratification system that I was mentioning before. Yeah, it's all work in progress at the moment. I have a very short video that I could show you. So it's using a lot, the idea is to use NPCs as well as part of that, or AI for dialogues. Moving on, I showed you some filters that have worked for the magazine, but AR is also a big part of my work. This here is a short example of an exhibition that I worked together with an artist friend of mine. So the whole solo show was about transformation and transness as well. Together we kind of created those creatures, like we were interested in butterflies and transformers as creatures that kind of inherently are creatures of transformation and fluidity. So you could kind of download that AR application and see the exhibition together with the creatures, like the digital creatures. And moving on, I've been also very interested in music videos, and because I work with game engines, most of the stuff that I have here to show you today are like created in the video gaming space, but then they're rendered and presented as like a moving image work. But because of the fact that they're created within those platforms, what I find interesting is the way that they can be experienced. So instead of like rendering it, it could be possible actually to allow somebody to experience a music video more actively. Like you have the space, you have the game, and then you kind of experience the whole thing by being able to freely interact and roam around that space. These are screenshots from that video that I was telling you about, which incorporated the scanning through the phone, the motion capture, the 3D world building, and then the cinematics on top. This was part of the trailer. And I don't know if we have time. The video is 3 minutes. Shall I play it, or I have a QR code if we don't have time? But yeah. So this is the final piece.
Beneath me, was I hold my breath? Breathe beneath me and inject myself. Was I hold my breath from the bed and inject myself into a room that smells from the bed of a beautiful, into a room that smells solitude of a beautiful chains dangle from the sea. Solitude, their shining metal reflects dangle from the sea. Nothing but the saddest of feeling. Nothing but the saddest of feeling. Carving mirror lies all alone. Carving mirror lies cold wet floor. I still broken cold wet floor and wave hello. I still broken and wave hello. There is no soul, only a black hole searching for a body that can one day. There is no soul, only a black hole searching for a body that can one day be called a home. That flower grows from that flower grows from. I pick it up, put it inside my trunks. I pick it up, pubes and petals, put it inside my trunk. Shoot straight up to the heart, pubes and petals, beating so straight up to the heart. Room turns into the beating so hard. Room turns into the club. Feet stuck to the ground. The dancing feet stuck to the front. The dancing and on top of a pickup truck. My head facing and on top of a pickup truck. My head facing up. I step spark to the store. Don't spark from afar. Step spark. I pretend to have seen spark from afar. I shoot things to have seen. A shooting star. Wishing for a wish that never comes. Wishing for a wish that never comes. I make myself come. I make myself come.
And this is another music video that I worked on a bit before that, like very different as well. What's funny about that one is that, again, we needed to render the scene to create the moving image piece, but because of the tune, it was impossible to program cameras within the software to move in the way that we wanted them to move. So I ended up like becoming similar to one of the videos that you were showing in your film, like of people like smashing the machine. Like my mouse like completely broke because it's not rendered. It's actually me playing the game and making those movements with my mouse, and then we kind of screen recorded it and turned it into the video, which was a fun way to create like content instead of like pre-render everything, like the actual real-time gameplay becoming the final piece. That's it. Thank you so much. Thank you.